Sarah's heart pounded in her chest as the cold night air brushed against her skin, her hands gently cradling her pregnant belly while she walked home from a late doctor's appointment. The streets were quiet, too quiet, and the faint sound of distant traffic was the only reminder that she wasn't completely alone. She had taken a shortcut through a narrow, dimly lit street she'd used dozens of times before. But tonight, something felt different, something felt wrong. Suddenly, out of the shadows, a massive German shepherd leaped into her path. Its loud, ferocious barking echoing through the silence. Sarah froze, fear locking her in place as her mind raced. The dog wasn't on a leash. There was no owner in sight. Instinctively, she clutched her stomach protectively, backing away slowly. But the dog stepped forward, blocking her path. Her breath caught in her throat. Her first thought was to run, but something about the dog's behavior stopped her. It wasn't snarling aggressively. It was barking in short bursts, stepping sideways, then darting back to block her again. Whenever she tried to move forward, "Easy, boy, easy," she whispered shakily, trying to keep her voice calm despite the storm inside her. That's when she heard it faint shuffling sounds coming from somewhere ahead, like someone dragging their feet along the pavement. Her eyes darted toward the darkness beyond the dog, straining to see. Her instincts screamed at her to turn back, but her legs refused to move. The dog barked louder now, turning its head toward the sound as if warning her of something unseen. And then, in the distance, she spotted the faint glow of headlights approaching, flashing red and blue. Police cars. Within seconds, 2 patrol cars screeched to a halt nearby, and the dog bolted toward them, tail wagging. That's when Sarah realized this wasn't a stray. This was a trained canine officer. As the officers stepped out, their expressions sharp and alert, one of them immediately noticed Sarah and rushed toward her. "Ma'am, are you okay?" he asked, keeping his voice calm but firm. Sarah pointed toward the dark path ahead, her voice trembling as she explained what had happened. The officer's face darkened as he exchanged a quick glance with his partner. Without another word, both men drew their flashlights and weapons, following the canine into the darkness. Sarah stood frozen, clutching her belly, her breath ragged as she listened to the distant barking and muffled commands. And then, suddenly, a sharp scream pierced the night. Sarah's knees felt weak as she leaned against a nearby fence for support, her trembling hands gripping the wooden panels tightly. Her entire body was trembling, her mind caught between fear and confusion. The German shepherd, now clearly identified as Rex by one of the officers shouting his name, disappeared into the darkness ahead, his deep, powerful barks echoing off the alley walls. Sarah could barely make out the silhouette of the 2 officers as they cautiously moved forward, their flashlights slicing through the shadows. A sudden clatter, followed by a panicked cry, sent shivers down her spine. Something was happening. Something dangerous, and she was standing too close to it. One of the officers' voices rang out loud and commanding, "Drop the knife. Hands where I can see them." Sarah gasped, her hands instinctively covering her stomach as though shielding her unborn child from whatever threat lay ahead. She wanted to leave, to run, but her legs felt glued to the ground. Seconds later, Rex's growl grew louder, more aggressive, followed by the unmistakable sound of a struggle. Heavy footsteps, grunts, and the metallic clang of something hitting. The pavement reached her ears. Then came silence. Before an officer's voice finally called out, "Suspect apprehended." Relief washed over Sarah for a brief moment, but it was quickly replaced by a new wave of fear when one of the officers jogged back toward her. his face pale beneath the flashing lights. "Ma'am, you need to stay behind the patrol car," he instructed firmly. "This man, he's dangerous. We've been looking for him for weeks." Sarah's breath hitched as she tried to process his words. Who is he?" she stammered. "A wanted criminal," the officer replied grimly. "He's been attacking women in this area. If Rex hadn't stopped you, you would have walked right into his trap." The weight of his words hit her like a punch to the chest. Her knees buckled slightly, and she steadied herself against the patrol car, tears welling in her eyes. She looked at Rex as the powerful canine trotted back proudly, tail wagging slightly, his ears perked and eyes alert. She knelt down instinctively, whispering, "Thank you," as her trembling hand brushed against his fur. But before she could catch her breath, Rex suddenly stiffened, his ears snapping forward. Without warning, he bolted toward a parked van nearby, barking furiously. The officers immediately followed, flashlights cutting through the darkness as they surrounded the vehicle. Sarah watched from behind the safety of the car, her heart hammering as one of the officers yanked open the back doors of the van. What happened next made her gasp so loudly that it echoed into the night. Sarah's hands flew to her mouth as the officer's flashlight beam illuminated the inside of the van, and she nearly stumbled backward from the shock. 3 women sat huddled together inside, their wrists and ankles bound, their faces pale and streaked with dried tears. Their wide, terrified eyes blinked against the sudden burst of light, and one of them whimpered softly as if she had forgotten how to use her voice. Sarah's entire body went cold as reality sank in. This wasn't just a random criminal lurking in the dark. This was something much bigger, much worse. The officers moved quickly, one calling for immediate backup, while the other climbed into the van to cut the women free. Rex barked loudly, circling the vehicle like a sentinel, his tail stiff and ears alert, as though he was making sure no other threat emerged from the shadows. Sarah wanted to move closer, to help somehow, but her legs felt heavy, almost paralyzed, by the weight of everything unfolding before her. The sound of sirens grew louder in the distance as more patrol cars rushed to the scene. A female officer arrived moments later, helping the terrified women step out of the van one by one, her soothing voice calming them as they clung desperately to her arms. "You're safe now," she kept repeating. "You're safe." As Sarah's breath trembled in and out as she leaned against the cold metal of the patrol car, her palm pressed instinctively against her belly. All she could think about was how close she had been to walking right into danger, how easily her name could have been added to the list of missing women. Rex glanced back at her for a moment, his sharp eyes softening, and Sarah felt a strange, almost unexplainable connection with the dog, as if he had chosen to protect her, knowing instinctively that she and her unborn child needed him most. As paramedics arrived to check the rescued women, Detective Harris approached Sarah, his face tight with controlled fury. "This man," he said, gesturing toward the suspect, now handcuffed and pinned against the hood of a patrol car, has been on our radar for months. We didn't know where he was keeping them until tonight. If Rex hadn't been here," he trailed off, shaking his head, his jaw clenched. Sarah didn't need him to finish the sentence. She knew exactly what he meant. Her knees threatened to give way beneath her as the enormity of the situation pressed down on her chest like a weight. I don't even know what to say," she whispered, her voice cracking. "Say thank you to Rex," Harris said softly, finally allowing himself a faint smile as he glanced at the proud canine sitting calmly nearby, his chest rising and falling steadily. But even in the midst of relief, something about Rex's behavior caught Sarah's attention. He wasn't fully relaxed. His ears twitched at every small sound. His eyes darted to the shadows beyond the flashing lights, and he growled low, under his breath, as though sensing danger still lurking nearby. Moments later, another team of officers began inspecting the van more thoroughly, searching every inch for evidence. One of them called out suddenly, holding up a small notebook found stuffed under the driver's seat. Detective Harris snatched it up, flipping through its pages quickly, and his face paled. "There's a list," he muttered darkly. "Addresses, names." He swallowed hard, his voice barely above a whisper. He wasn't working alone. Sarah's heart skipped a beat, the air around her suddenly feeling heavier, colder. She realized the night's nightmare wasn't over yet. This was only the beginning of something far more dangerous. Rex barked again, his deep voice cutting through the chaos, as if urging everyone to stay alert. Sarah wrapped her arms around herself, shivering despite the warmth of the summer night. As she began to understand the horrifying truth, she had stumbled into a web of something much bigger than she could have imagined, and Rex was the thin line standing between safety and unimaginable danger. The following morning, Sarah woke up, still replaying the night's events over and over in her mind. The flashing police lights burned into her memory. She sat on the edge of her bed, one hand resting on her stomach, the other gripping a cup of tea she hadn't touched. Sleep had been nearly impossible. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the terrified faces of the rescued women and thought about how close she had come to sharing their fate. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand, pulling her back to reality. A breaking news alert flashed across the screen. Hero K9 Rex saves pregnant woman, rescues missing victims, and uncovers criminal network. Sarah clicked the headline, and there was Rex's photo, tongue lolling happily, sitting proudly beside Detective Harris. Reading through the article, Sarah learned more chilling details. The suspect arrested last night was part of a larger human trafficking ring operating in nearby towns. Authorities believed the names and addresses in that notebook belonged to other potential targets, people who had no idea their lives were in danger. Thanks to Rex, the police had actionable leads that could save many more lives. Later that day, Sarah visited the police station to thank the officers and, most importantly, Rex. As she walked through the station's doors, the buzzing energy inside was palpable. Officers darted back and forth, radios crackled with updates, and reporters crowded outside, hungry for details of the dramatic rescue. When Rex spotted her from across the room, his ears perked, and he trotted over, tail wagging. Sarah crouched down carefully, hugging the big German shepherd as tears blurred her vision. "You saved me," she whispered softly, her voice breaking. "You saved my baby. I'll never forget this." Detective Harris approached, offering her a gentle smile. "He doesn't usually get attached to people," he said, scratching behind Rex's ears, "but last night he wouldn't leave your side. He knew you needed him." Sarah glanced up at him, emotion clogging her throat. "I don't even know how to thank him." Harris chuckled softly. "A few treats go a long way with this guy." The department later held a small ceremony to honor Rex, awarding him a medal for bravery. Cameras flashed, and reporters clamored for interviews. But Rex sat calmly through it all, his intelligent eyes scanning the crowd as if he understood every word. Sarah stood quietly to the side, one hand resting on her belly, feeling an overwhelming sense of gratitude. She had gone out for a simple doctor's appointment and returned with a story that would change her life forever. As she left the station, Detective Harris called after her. "Ma'am," he said, his tone serious, Be careful for the next few days. We're still investigating. There might be more out there." That night, Sarah sat by her window, staring out at the quiet street below. Every passing shadow made her heart skip. Every creak of the house set her nerves on edge. But then she thought of Rex, his unwavering bravery, his refusal to let her walk into danger, and she felt safer, stronger. Some heroes wear uniforms, some carry badges, but sometimes the hero that saves your life walks on four paws, barks in the darkness, and trusts his instincts when you can't. Sarah knew she'd never forget that night, nor the K9 who risked everything for her and those 3 women. And if you're amazed by Rex's courage too, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to K9 Era, because real-life heroes like him deserve to be celebrated. Sometimes the savior you need doesn't say a word. Sometimes it simply barks.